Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Dufresne. I am your host of today's webinar, How Mass Torts Use Law Ruler. Going to give everybody a few minutes to join in, then we'll go ahead and get started. Hope everybody's afternoon is going well. Just going to give everyone just a few more minutes to join in. It's like we have quite a few people joining us today. Today's topic is going to be how mass torts use Law Ruler. We're going to be going over a few of the features that benefit them in our software and taking a look on how the top mass tort firms that use us have done so in order to close over 30,000 Camp Lejeune leads. It's been an incredible campaign for us. A lot of the people that use our software have had a lot of success, and we're here today to talk about what features inside of Law Ruler made that success possible. All right, let's go ahead and we'll dive in and get started. So to introduce myself, my name is Matthew Dufresne. I am the host today. I am the manager of sales here at Law Ruler. Today's agenda, we're going to be going over quite a few features that matter in the mass tort space. We're going to be going over the automated drip campaigns, how the open API is used to receive leads from any of your marketing sources. We're going to go over SMS e-sign blasts, automated scheduled calls, phone agent tracking metrics, dashboard and funnel reports, customized workflows, direct integration to multiple partners' practice management softwares. And at the end, after we're done reviewing everything, I will open up a QA so you can ask any questions you have. And then we'll go ahead and come to a close. And if you guys want any information after the webinar today, you will receive an email with a added bonus content inside of it. You can always reply to that email or reach out directly to me at matthew.dufresne@lawruler.com. So let's go ahead and we're going to dive into the first piece of our agenda here, automated drip campaigns. So automated drip campaigns are extremely important when generating conversions in mass tort. You can easily increase your lead conversion by automating the personalized client communications. Law Ruler allows you to do that by creating extremely customized content in these drip campaigns. One of the main things that people like to do is they like to send out email blasts on these campaigns. That's the way they've done it for years. Law Ruler came in and was one of the first softwares that allowed them to take that platform and turn it into texting. Reason for that is email campaigns aren't bad, but on a good day, they have a 5 to 10% open rate. Text messages, on the other hand, they have a 98% open rate. Think about your email inbox now. You probably have about more than 100 unread either junk or in your inbox emails. You don't always open those. However, if you get a text message, no matter who it's from, even if you don't open it, you're going to acknowledge it and look at the preview screen. Every single time that we get a text, it's human nature at this point of our lives where you just look at it, especially in the business world, you're like, I got a text. So that puts you in front of a ton more people. Now, on top of that, creating a structured drip campaign in any mass tort cadence that's even customized to those mass torts. So if you're a firm running multiple mass torts, having each drip campaign custom tailored to that specific mass tort is extremely important as well. You want to make sure that whatever drip campaigns you use are custom tailored content to that mass tort. It will increase lead conversions. One thing I always advise against is just sending out generic content or sending out spam content. It doesn't work. It used to a while ago, but everybody spammed out. And now the only thing that people want to pay attention to is custom tailored content. Makes them feel like their journey is more important. You respect more of their time. It's not just a robot sending it out. For an example of that is you can create drip campaigns of new leads that come to you from Facebook. You can actually use our model to send them a text message saying, hey, thanks for reaching out to us from Facebook. And then walk them through the next part of your process. Different people use our automations to take them to the next part. You want to have a call to action no matter what automation you have. A lot of mass tort campaigns, they'll go straight to e-sign. As soon as a lead comes in, it'll send them an e-sign agreement to move forward. So then they'll qualify them afterwards. So you can do it that way, or you can send them an intake in the beginning. They come in, hey, thank you for contacting us. My name is Matt from Law Firm A. Thank you for reaching out to me on Facebook. I'd love to learn more about your situation to see if we could help. Here's an intake questionnaire until we call. That's going to do a couple things. That's going to engage them. It's going to prevent them from Googling other attorneys handling the issue, because we live in such an instant gratification world. If somebody's thinking about reaching out to an attorney, they don't just stop at the first person only. They'll go down a Google list and keep calling people. An intake or an e-sign, putting in their hands right away and contacting them right away, 78% of those potential clients convert with that first company that responds to them. Now, those other percentages are normally not converting because they're not just contacting them and that's it. They're just saying, hi, my name is Jake from State Farm, and I'm just reaching out to say hello. That doesn't work. You can't just say thanks for contacting us, firm. You have to have a next step in the process. So to increase that 78% even further, send out that next step. Here's an intake to fill out. I'm going to be calling you in a few minutes from this number. Here is an e-sign. Please complete this, and as soon as we receive it, we will contact you immediately. Those calls to action are going to prevent them from hopping on to the next Google listing, calling your competitors and signing with them. You want to keep them occupied, keep them engaged, keep them off of Google. Now, there's other things you could do with the automation campaigns, not just the drip campaigns for the new leads. There's actually some services that a lot of people pay extra money for with other companies out there, such as re-engagement campaigns. I've seen a huge increase in re-engagement inside of the mass tort industry, where people will pay, a couple $100 per converted case, sometimes even more, when they send them their entire re-engagement list. You can build out that re-engagement campaign inside of Law Ruler. What you're going to do, and how firms are successful at this, is they take what they're doing already inside their normal engagement campaign and just reverse it. Say like, okay, this automation will go out. If they don't respond to me in 14 days, they're a dead lead. Don't just put them in a dead lead. Have Law Ruler's automation automatically move them to a re-engagement status 1, however you want to call it, and then have that flip the switch. Whatever you've been trying to call to action on them for that first part of it, let's say you're sending out an intake originally, send them an e-sign after 14 days, just saying, listen, we haven't heard back from you. We'd love to help you in order to move forward. We do need you to sign this agreement so we can, somebody can call you and help you move forward to the next steps. That will allow you to increase that conversion. It flips a switch. People that haven't signed yet, normally when they need to be re-engaged, it's because they didn't mesh well with the original method you were doing. Everybody wants to sign up differently. Everybody likes to do first things different. So that's the best way to save yourself a lot of money and paying expensive re-engagement fees by just doing it yourself. Now, the other thing that you can use with automation is send out email and text message communications to your internal staff. There's a lot of times where, when you're thinking about automations in mass tort, you're only thinking about sending it out to people. You can also send it out and create internal automations to make sure that your worker structure, your intake structure is on point. This way, let's say, if you want to, anytime somebody submits an intake, you want somebody to call right away. Automate that. Don't leave it up to somebody to decide to do. You want to make sure that you have as much control as possible. Use Law Ruler's automation to, as soon as that status changes to intake completed, schedule that call back to that client and somebody will hop on immediately. Don't give them time to say, okay, well, maybe I'll call them back in a few hours. They just completed it. Schedule it, let it go out, let the automation do its job. You're going to have better conversion percentages. There's a lot more in depth with automation that we can dive into. If you want to learn a little bit more about this feature, because it's so rich of a feature, please do not hesitate to reach out to either myself or support at lawruler.com. We're happy to answer any questions about it. Let's talk about that next step. Next step is the Open API. Open API in the mass tort industry is extremely important when considering a CRM, and it's what makes most CRMs either very successful or a failure, to be honest with you, because the whole part of a CRM is to create a simple and seamless operating environment. You do not want to have a clunky, broken CRM and conversion environment because intake is sales. You want to make it as easy on that client to sign up as possible, because the easier it is for them to sign up, the more money you're going to make, the more conversions you're going to have. With an open API, no matter where you're advertising from, Law Ruler is going to automatically sync with those with those integrations, and all of your marketing efforts will sync in directly to the system. So no matter where they're coming from, Facebook, TikTok, if you're doing Google My Business, Google LSAs, although you're buying leads from third-party vendors, we can integrate with everyone to where those leads will automatically flow in and track those marketing efforts. You want to make sure that your marketing efforts are tracked, because marketing is where the intake process starts. You got to have good, solid, quality leads, And you have to make sure those quality leads flow into our system automatically, because that's going to create the start, that simple and seamless workflow, allowing you to increase that conversion rate. Now, we can integrate with any marketing vendor in the marketplace. We do over 1,500 legal vendors, and we're still counting. So there's new vendors coming out all the time, and we're working on integrating with people as they come out. So no matter where you're marketing from, please ask us. Chances are we already have it. If we don't, we'll build it. Now, the next part of that, the next part of the features that are important, we're going to talk about text message e-sign blast. Now, this is an interesting feature, because when you think of e-sign blast, you're mainly thinking of communications, like you just want to update somebody something. You can weaponize that text message. And the reason you could do that is you can use it to send out an e-sign blast to everybody that's qualified. Let's say you have a pool of 1,000 leads that you sent an e-sign out to throughout your entire campaign. They just haven't signed it. Or you qualified them and you haven't sent out the e-sign, they're just sitting there. That's money spent from your pocket on marketing dollars. But that's also untapped potential that you can convert. You can use Law Ruler's import tool to import a CSV list. You can do the inbox, you can filter all the people that you haven't converted, export them into a CSV, and then re-upload them into the import wizard and do a mass update using conditional logic from the intake form. You have it hidden, and that conditional logic can trigger an automated email and text blast to the client. It can get a little bit complicated, so please reach out to your account manager, or if you're new to us, you can ask me through my email or during the demo to show you how that works. But that's going to give you a huge conversion boost for the day. You'd be surprised. I've had it to where people were converting at 10% for a day, and then all of a sudden they send out a text message blast, and that's shot up to 30% by the end of the day. Because you don't just have to use text messages to give updates. You can send everybody a text message at once in the system. Remember that 98% open rate. That's going to be huge when you're sending out either an e-sign link. They might have forgotten it or got busy. You send it out at peak times because you can control what time it goes out at with doing this method. I always tell people to send out this message at the end of the workday. People are either on their way home or they're already home starting to relax. That's when you want to send them that e-sign when they have time, because the drip campaigns, you can't really control when they get this. They're just going to come in and out. You can control what day you want it to go out of, but you can't control the exact time. Here, you trigger it to send, it sends at that specific time. So you'll get in front of people at peak times, peak interaction times. Those conversion rates are going to skyrocket. You're going to make a huge ROI on that one text message blast. It's a really nice feature to have, and it's one that's led to people converting so many Camp Lejeune cases inside of Law Ruler. So the next step of this is going to be automated scheduled calls. So a lot of the biggest mass tort firms, they are not manually dialing. They're not using an outside dialer. They're automating their calls. Now, the successful ones are not using something called, I believe it's called auto call dialing or auto call routing, because what that does is that just calls and it connects you a power dialer. A lot of them aren't using power dialers. The successful ones don't, because what they know, it's what everybody knows in the marketing industry. If you've ever answered a call and you don't hear anybody and all of a sudden you hear a boop, you're hanging up that phone. Nobody talks to those people. Nobody wants to. By the time you hear the beep, you've already hung up. That's what power dialers do. Law Ruler, we automate scheduled calls. It's a little bit different with our soft phone dialer. You can make sure your leads are called when you want them to be, and it's a live call. That call is not made until your agent hits accept, and then it starts dialing out. So when your client answers, they don't get that long wait time followed by the boop. It's just immediate conversation. You do not want to have that pause. That pause will kill conversion. A lot of people will try to argue that, oh, but you can't make as many calls. You don't want to make as many calls because you paid to make those calls. You don't want to blow through those leads. And every time they see your number, they're going to associate it with that sound of the boop transferring them over to a rep. You want to let them know the first time you call that they answer, it's a conversation and converts. You will be making less calls with a soft phone dialer with automating calls and a power dialer, but you will be making higher quality, higher converting calls. Now, those kind of calls, when you schedule them, it's going to increase your net promoter score. They're going to be referring you to their friends and family. You're going to be getting a lot more word of mouth referrals if they know anybody else affected. Your conversion rates are going to also improve with just a good call structure. For mass tort firms that don't do outbound calls, I suggest really just giving it a try. It's not hard to set up. It's very easy. You could start with a few reps and you'd be surprised at how much your conversion increases. We tend to think of cold calling as a dead practice. However, in the mass tort industry, it's really not. It's you want to create as many touches as possible on these leads to help convert them. Everybody converts differently. Everybody takes different times to age. Use this as part of your arsenal in order to create an environment where you get the most conversions. So you'll be able to call more leads with that workflow. You can create status-based campaigns and set your call priorities. For example, inside of LawWheeler, if you want to call newer leads, you can create priorities to where if there's 100 outbound calls and 25 of them are for new leads, those 25 calls are going to get made first, and then it's going to queue up the rest. If you don't see your call priority statuses inside of your system, it is something that we can customize on the back end. Please reach out to support@lawwheeler.com. We can add that status for you and make sure that your call priorities are set to the best procedure they possibly can be. Another good thing is that you can also have mandatory dispositions. A lot of law firms that do schedule these calls out, they don't track dispositions. They don't track what happens on their calls. You want to track your top performing agents. You also want to track peak times. When are people leaving voicemails versus when are people answering? These are the kind of reports you're going to have when you track those dispositions, and they are mandatory inside of our dialer. You can also save some of the time by dropping pre-recorded voicemails. You can leave good custom content in a pre-recorded voicemail. You can pre-record that and upload that to your LawWheeler profile. And as soon as you hit the voicemail, you hit the button and you can drop in. You can record multiple, so you have multiple options to drop in. Another nice feature, and this is a problem that a lot of people have across the board, is a lot of times when somebody does answer, they'll say, "Oh, I'm at work. Can you call me back later?" Without our tool, it is hard to remember to call them back later when you're making 100 other calls. What you can do in the system is you can actually schedule a call back. If I call somebody and they say, "Oh, can you call me back at 5 when I get out of work?" I can say yes, and I can schedule that call back for 5 o'clock that day. It'll come back to my dialer at that time and take highest priority. So I will not forget to call that client. That's going to increase your net promoter score right there, and it's going to make somebody a client if they qualify because they're going to appreciate that callback. Huge features, and this feature alone will help you dramatically increase that conversion rate. To go alongside of that is tracking your phone agent metrics. Here on the screen in front of me, you can actually see a call center agent metrics report. This agent metrics report allows you to track what your agents are doing and how they're performing on that phone system when you're scheduling those callbacks. You could track things like average talk times, total talk times, how many calls they've made versus received. Another important metric is we could track how many they decline or if they miss calls. You do not want agents that are not going to work for your firm. Unfortunately, every firm hires them. It's going to happen. Agents have a high turnover rate at most firms, and you're going to go through some growing pains as you're making hiring efforts. This report is going to allow you to keep the people converting the highest up at the front, those not performing, not making their calls. It's going to allow you to make good executive decisions. One of the most important metrics that we differentiate that not a lot of other call centers do is wrap-up time. A lot of call centers will just have a total time spent on a call. They don't differentiate what's time is spent talking versus what time is spent wrapping up on the disposition and leaving notes. You can track wrap-up time here. For example, here's a great example. You see the time, total talk time for Matthew Hamowitz there is 15 seconds. However, his wrap-up time is quite a bit longer than that at 10 hours and 26 minutes. With that wrap-up time being 10 hours and his talk time only being 15 seconds, you know he is not working. He just left his computer on and expects to get paid. We can go ahead and move forward with whatever disciplinary action we want to against that agent. This allows you to really take control of your agent team and knowing how they're working for you because they're an investment for your firm, and most of your conversion are only as good as the agents you have handling it. Some other reporting that we have available are your dashboard and funnel metrics reports. Remember, intake is sales. Track your funnel metrics. It's extremely important to know how many you're converting in from each marketing source. The most successful mass tort firms using our software customize the name funnels to what they're used to calling them. New and open might not be new and open to yours. It could be considered intakes. It could be considered new intakes. You can call it whatever you'd like to go with your internal lingo. You can also schedule these reports to auto-deliver to any email. People are using that to auto-deliver this category, filtering it by the marketing sources because there's a variety of filters available. Let's say you're working with marketing firm A. You can filter it to all of marketing firm A's resources, and every week you can send this report to them. Because on their end, the marketing team will say, hey, I'm sending you 500 leads. Great, they look like rock stars. They're not, because I'm rejecting 495 of those 500 leads, but they don't know that because they're not tracking it after they send it to me. This report will tell them exactly what is happening with the leads they are sending me and how successful they are, allowing your marketing dollars to make you more money. Your marketers are only going to be as good as the data you provide to them and the data they track. So this is extremely important to track so they can do their jobs more efficiently. You can get more qualified leads. You can tweak your keywords. You can increase your conversions. Now, of course, this is just one example of a funnel metric report. We have a ton of customizable reports and dashboard analytics available. Our whole goal is to equip and empower you with as much information to make important decisions as possible. Now, another key area of LawRuler is how customizable we are. Inside of the system, we have a lot of customized workflows. LawRuler is not a cookie cutter software, and that's why we're so good with mass torts, is because mass torts are not a cookie cutter case type. Every mass tort requires different levels of attention, different functionality, different workflows. You can have a portal when you sign up for LawRuler that's completely custom tailored to your firm and your firm's workflow. Every firm works differently. Every firm has what works best for that firm. Don't buy a cookie cutter software. That's going to hurt your conversion right there because you're going to have opportunity costs while learning how to use that new system, that new workflow, and then having to try to get your team and yourself to adapt to it. Why not just start off and get a software that's completely custom tailored to your firm and that works for you right out the gate? You can automate as much or as little as you want in our system. I have people that never touch a lead. They're retired. They just pay and they have marketing money. The marketing leads come in. Conditional logic intake qualifies them, sends a rejection letter or an intake. If they sign, they get sent to a referral firm automatically based on their case type. They don't touch them. Or you can have it be as manual a process as you want, or you can tweak it along as you go. That's the beauty of the system, is it's here and designed to grow with you. If you're a new mass tort firm and you need that automation as much as possible, you might want to throw it all in automation as soon as you start. But as you grow, you might want to make it a little bit more manual of a process with your intake agents and adding some of those calls to there. So you can edit this, you can grow it, you can grow the workflows as your firm grows. It can adapt with you. You can also create custom content and tasks to get the best results. There's no limit to the amount of content you can create when it comes to copyright material for those automations. And you can make sure you can tweak it along. So if you see the metrics of open rates and click rates and interaction rates, all that's tracked in LawRuler. So you can edit it month after month based on your interaction rates with your emails. So another extremely important thing, because you want a system that's going to be customized. You really do. I can't stress that enough. It's what allows you to be successful. You don't want anybody to restrict what you want to do at your firm. You want to do it how you want to do it, and you want it to work right. The next part about this, the slide might look familiar. We took a look at it a little bit earlier on, is the end of the funnel API. So now we have sent out an e-sign, we have qualified the client, we have QA'd, and we're done. Now, if we're the litigation firm, great. We have our own practice management software we can feed this into. It's already connected through LawRuler. I can hit send to my practice management software, and I only have one destination for it to go. However, we also have a lot of call centers and referral partner firms that do mass torts that are working with multiple referral firms. You can use LawRuler's open API to communicate with other practice management softwares. Like I said earlier, we integrate with over 1,500 and counting legal vendors. What that means to you is if you're a call center, you have a lot of different partners, chances are we integrate with their practice management software, and you can easily with a click of a button, send them all the information they need in order to get that process moving towards the end goal at the case management side and making sure that you don't have a headache on the end. Because a simple and seamless process is needed from start to finish. I will keep using that phrase because it's important in this case type. From start to finish. You're not finished until you send it to that referral firm or you send it to your practice management software. You need a software that is good to communicate with those. And we have been built from the start to communicate well with other softwares. It's what we do. It's what we've always done. It's what we're good at. We do recommend that you utilize one of our sister companies that are also owned by ProfitSolve, such as Cosmolex or Rocket Matter or TimeSolve or Tabs3 or Practice Master. However, we do also integrate with other systems as well with their practice management, such as Clio and others. So with that being said, we can go ahead and come to an end of this discussion today. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to a QA session. If you guys have any questions over anything that we've gone over today, or just have any questions about Law Ruler in general, now's the time to ask. All right, let's take a look. Somebody has asked a question. How do you set up the integrations? That's a good question. So with the integrations, there's a couple different ways you can get it set up. If you already have Law Ruler, you can go into setup third-party integrations. You could send them the API information. If they do not work with your API, there's a couple other things that you can do. You can reach out to support@lawruler.com or your account manager, and then CC the marketing company or the software company's representative you're trying to integrate with, or the marketing company you're trying to integrate with, and we'll work together to see how we can get that set up for you. We'll guide you through that process. It's pretty easy normally to do most APIs. If they don't have an API, we have to do something called a mail parsing, which we can definitely do. All right. Somebody asked, will there be a recording of the session available? Yes. We're going to have a recording of the session available. It will be sent out to anybody who's attended today or signed up. You can also find a copy of all of our recordings from any of our webinars located on YouTube by searching Law Ruler. We have a whole channel that's filled with good content and a lot of good webinars to have. You're welcome. Happy to help. All right. Any other questions today? It's actually a really good question that came up. Is the information exportable? A lot of mass tort firms do like to have easily exportable content and documents in case they want to make backups or put things into other systems, such as different third-party dialers, third-party email tools. Yes, if you have permission, we have user permissions inside of Law Ruler. We're one of the most extensive softwares when it comes to user permissions. You can actually choose if somebody has export capabilities or not. They don't have to be an admin to export. You can choose other levels of people because you might have like a case manager or an intake manager that you want to be able to export things but not change things on the back end. So you could set the user permission. You can export almost everything to an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV sheet. All right. Any other questions? Perfect. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for attending today's webinar. I appreciate all of your time. Again, my name is Matthew Dufresne. I am the manager of sales here at Law Ruler. If you have any questions for me, you can always reach me at matthew.dufresne@lawruler.com, or you can call me directly on my cell at 561-287-0970. I'm always available and happy to help. Thank you from everyone here at Law Ruler, powered by ProfitSolve. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a great rest of your week. Bye now.